I've received a wonderful prophecy about the future. I'm incredibly spiritual. I don't always share it because I don't like to force things onto people or push too much. Um, I have so many wonderful signs in my life, from tarot cards to other psychics that come provide guidance, which are just more confirmation, really, of the signs I receive in my own life. So there's potentially a signs that opportunity will come and dreams will come true. And someone actually said to me in the past that my path is far bigger than the books I write, which I was arguing with. I was like, how the hell can anything be bigger? That's like my life dream, like to write a book. But I realized that I'm incredibly proud of it and it will stay with me forever. But my heart still yearns for more, which is quite crazy, really, because you'd think you'd be satisfied. I'm not. So my path leans me more towards helping people and guiding, which is more than a book. It's more than a book. So it got me thinking about talking in front of a crowd. See, I'm not really bothered about crowds of people in the past. I think when you're younger, you can feel insecure. I think when it comes to things like that. But I think as you get older, it's not so daunting. I've never really been someone that bothers with fame. I'm not really intimidated by it. I never look up at anyone. I never look down at anyone. I see everyone as equals. So I wouldn't get starstruck by anything or anyone. It's just someone that's achieved something, and maybe I'm inspired by them, and it'd be nice to meet. But I mean, I wouldn't really look at them and go, all weird. I don't see the point of that. So it got me thinking: if I was talking on a platform, on a stage or something, what would it be like, and how would I be? And for the most part, at the moment, I share my journey, I share my story, and I close a lot of things off on purposely at the moment, so I can just focus on that without distractions and being derailed. So it's hard for people to reach out to me at the moment. It won't stay like that forever, but for the moment, for the time being, that's how it is. Like lack of comments. Obviously, I'm not on social media. It makes it very closed off. But that's only because I've got things I want to say at the moment. If I was talking to an audience, and it's a large audience, I'd certainly want to hear what everybody else has got to say. I'd love to hear their stories, and maybe just if they need any help, then help in that way, I think. So I was picturing talking to a large group of people, but wanting to pick people out of the crowd who want to be able to talk without being feeling intimidated. Because, like I say, I'm not really intimidated by talking, but I know some people probably would. So if it's a large audience and the lights are on you, it can make people buckle, I think, and hide within. So I was picturing, rather than have someone facing the crowd, because that can be intimidating, just make it intimate. So you're sitting across from each other and actually just having a conversation, showing that you don't need to. Why's my eardrum funny? I don't know what's going on with this. But show that my headphones always play up. So if there's ever a situation in any of my videos where I start talking funny, it's usually because I can hear something and it's irritating me. My headphone just completely went off. Usually a sign as well, because I do get spiritual signs, and that might have been it to say that's probably what's going to happen. So yeah, that's quite weird. I do get some moments where I'm trying to focus on one thing, but I've got other things going on in my head, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, then I get derailed. But anyway, let's get back on topic. I would have someone sit opposite me and have a personal conversation. It's private, it's personal, it's intimate. Of course, other people will be listening, but hopefully make that person comfortable enough where they forget the audience is there. And then they can just share what's on their mind. And then I can say what I think, but also, make it a community. That's what you want. It's not like I'm the be all and end all. I like the idea of being supported. I could talk on my own, I could talk forever, but one narrative is very single-minded. So it would be nice to have maybe special guests, maybe have guests or a panel, or maybe bring a few people up and have an actual conversation, not just the one person. Maybe bring 3 people up. Maybe we'll just sit there together and have that conversation where you're all sparking different ideas, because we grow together. So it's not just a case of I just want to hear my voice. That's not the case at all. I want to hear other people. I like having that interaction. Like even when I'm at work and things, I like to hear what other people say, what they're doing, their perspective of life. It's not always the same. But when you meet like-minded people, it just creates a spark, and that's when it gets beautiful. Because you can have someone battling against you, and you've got completely different opinions, but you can see the logic in what they're saying, not necessarily agree. But I think once you come across someone who gets it what you're saying, and you get what they're saying, it's like a beautiful, it's called magical moment, really. Because there was someone else I met at work who I said to a few things, and it helped them so much. It just changed their perspective in a moment. And they said that just changed everything. Just that one word, one thing. Because I think we get locked down in trying to be great and trying to be amazing. And that pressure can get too much. So everybody walks around their daily lives and they just feel they're wasting or they have not achieved something. I made the point that life isn't about sort of the big things. It's not about saying, I'm an author, like a writer, I've done this, I've done that. That's irrelevant in the overall scheme of things. That's personal achievements and accolades, remarkable in itself, but it's not our end goal. Our end goal is our soul growth, our personal growth, our development. So this person said when they were younger, they bullied people. It's quite open about it, it's not who he is now, but it's who they were in the past when they were younger. So they did things that maybe now you maybe regret or maybe think that's a different version of me. And I said, that's exactly what you've done. You've evolved. I said, you're just not acknowledging it, or you're not even giving yourself enough credit for it. You're a huge, immensely better person than you was when you was younger. So the whole point is, when we are born, we are one version of ourselves. But by the end of our lifetime, the whole point of our life was to evolve into a better, more rounded individual. So our soul has evolved. I said, so what you're not giving yourself credit for is the fact you are evolving now. You're a much better person than you was before. And the fact that you recognize what you did wrong is that's validation in itself. I said, so it's not about, all these big accomplishments. My headphones go funny again. It's driving me absolutely mental. Now working again, it's ridiculous, but it's always at the same moment. If you notice, the last one was about talking on stage, the other one was he's done it again, just as we're talking about the whole point of life. The meaning of life really is exactly that, the evolution. So yeah, it's not a case of everyone thinking they're better than anyone else or gloating, boasting. That's irrelevant, it really is. We're all on our own little path and journey, but it's up to each of us to take ownership of our path, and it's up to each of us to be prepared to grow and evolve. Sadly, some people just don't. Some people actually go downhill, become bitter and vengeful, and it doesn't inspire anything in ourselves. It's just sad. When on the opposite side of that, you can actually inspire other people. Because a lot of people have sort of a threat of other people. So let's say you're in a leadership position. You don't want someone else to be a leader because you want to be able to lord over people. So you keep everyone below you. And I don't understand that. Why not just bring everyone with you? It doesn't matter if someone does better than you. That's just your ego trying to control the situation and trying to feel valid. But you'll also find that these people that want power and control, they're also very lonely, which makes them, what's the word? I do this, my head just completely freezes with words. Paranoid. So it'll make them paranoid that they're, people are out to get them, or, their self-esteem is going to be dropped and stuff, because obviously if someone's better than you, it makes you feel less valid and less good. It's all stupid, superficial stuff that really has absolutely no meaning. It's meaningless. So really what someone thinks of you is irrelevant. Whether it's good or bad, it makes no difference, because we're in our own little bubble, and you should feel valid in yourself. And if you're not, it's up to us to take the time out to learn to grow and embrace who we are. We're not all perfect. It's okay if you have flaws. It's okay, embrace those flaws, because that's what makes you who you are. We're not all going to be wonderful human beings. We're going to have parts of us that are maybe a bit nasty at times, but sometimes that's a good way to protect ourselves. So it's not like we all should be saints. I've got a sharp tongue. I'm stubborn as a mule. I can be hot-headed and a stress head at times. I'm learning to control those bits more and more, because there's no need for it half the time. But then sometimes there is a need. So I speak up when I need to speak up. I don't let people dominate me, because why should anyone have that control over anyone? Why should anyone have control over you? They often say that you don't like being told what to do, and I absolutely hate being told what to do, and I admit it. What? Because when did it become normal? When was it normalized that someone got to be in charge of someone else? Why should someone dictate my life? It doesn't make sense. The logic is not there. But when people say things like that, it makes you look like you're wrong. You need to learn to do as you're told. Why? Why should I learn to do as I'm told? Who made the rules? Who makes the rules and who made the standardized in society? It doesn't make sense to me. No, I'll do what I want to do. I don't need to follow the rules, but thank you for trying to control me. I don't put up with people dominating. Anyway, probably got off topic as I tend to do. But yeah, it started off just thinking about how I would communicate with people in a setting, because I think it's important that you have that like an intimate moment where you just let the audience fade. Because I think when people get distracted, you get distracted if you don't get time to just talk one-on-one. But I think there's a lot that can be said for having those conversations with people, because you can really get to the heart of a situation. And then I think people actually get to see how wonderful and remarkable they are, because when society tells you you should be doing this, when society says you're not doing enough, or you're being selfish to an extent, it's like, wait a minute, let's have a look at what your life has been. Let's have a look at what you've been through. And let's have a look at who you are now. Forget money, forget titles, forget careers. Who are you as a human being? And what have you been through? Because hopefully people don't turn to being vengeful. If you've been, it's gone funny again. If you've been through hardships, use that as a tool to learn, evolve and grow, and maybe help people manage their way through similar situations rather than make someone else suffer because you did. There's no gain in that. It just repeats repetitive cycles. So if we take our trauma and put it onto someone else, all that's going to do is that person's going to suffer the same trauma you went through, and then they'll pass that on, and then all this planet will ever know is trauma. Or you break the cycle. You've acknowledged that your life has been hard and very unfair, and it's okay to feel sorry for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. We acknowledge it to ourselves. It's not fair. The stuff I've been through is traumatizing. I'm still suffering. It's not fair. I want my daughter with me more than anything in the world. We should be happy. We should be able to make plans. We should be able to go on holiday, just take random moments, be silly with each other. There's so much chaos at the moment, but it's all part of the journey, and I get it. I know it's part of it. Like the things I create, for instance, probably wouldn't have been created if she was to be here. So it's like everything has a purpose. But we're not going to carry that trauma through. I wrote my books and stuff to help try and heal people. So really what I want from my books more than anything, especially my first 2 books were about the separation from my daughter, the heartbreak and everything. I just want, if we put it from a mother's perspective, because that's what happens. So the mother dominates the father, forces the child to live a life that they don't want, just to have that control and that feeling of feeling significant. Take that all away. Take the ego away. Focus on the child and have a loving relationship, because you don't need a relationship with the parents, but you do need a relationship with your child. And it's important that we allow them to be happy, not burdened by the weight of arguments between parents. And that's what I want. I want parents to read the book, see how heartbreaking it is and traumatic it is. And if you're doing something similar, take a moment and stop, pause. Can I do something just a bit different and not end up in this situation? And if it just helps one person just change their mind and go, wait, what are we doing here? This is not the life I want for my child. And then they do it, and then they focus in a positive way, then that's done what it's supposed to do. On a bigger stage, the situation needs to change. Courts need to start listening to the children more. So I think there's a broader impact on it, and that's why they exist. It's not to attack anyone. It's not to hurt anyone. It's really just to create a fundamental change that hopefully is felt for generations. And if I can play a small part in that, then it's important that I do. And I think that outweighs any sort of resentment from the other side that it even exists. Some things are bigger than us. And that's why that exists. Yeah, we can all have an impact for good and bad. Sometimes some people get upset and irritated, but sometimes things have to be said and done to create justice and change. It doesn't happen overnight, and sometimes we have to throw ourselves out there and go against the grain, as I do. But yeah, anyway,